I don't have anything against Christians or anything, because I think everybody needs to find their own spiritual path with what resonates with them. And, if that's what does it for you, then great. I'm glad when anybody finds a spiritual home for themselves. But in terms of how it fits in with actual traditionalism, it's very anti-traditional. And Evola even calls it subversive. So because it's undermining all of the qualities of traditionalism, it's undermining hierarchy, for example. This idea of universal love and brotherhood, and anybody can just get to heaven if they believe the right things. Like, that's not a traditional belief. It's like that was never before believed by anybody until Christianity came along. The idea that there's going to be, some definite beginning and end of the universe, the idea of linear time, is very Abrahamic, and that goes against the doctrine of cyclical time. Christianity has a tendency to kind of suppress the feminine rather than find a way to be in balance with it. It tends towards this very unhealthy dualism in some cases, depending on, the various sects that arose out of that. Some of them really kind of went heavy on the spirit good, body bad sort of thing. And Evola doesn't agree with that. So he has a lot to say about Christianity across a number of his different books. But in a nutshell, he considers Christianity to be actually one of the sort of key breaking points with the world of tradition in the age of the Kali Yuga. So prior to, one of the first key breaking points in the Kali Yuga was what he calls the climacteric of civilizations, which is like the 8th to 4th centuries BC. And you had this series of spiritual crises running across all the civilizations of the world, which sometimes resolved more positively, sometimes more negatively. But it was a period in which the doctrines of tradition started to break down or be degraded or be corrupted in some way. And then the second breaking point that he identifies is the rise of Christianity and the fall of Rome. And then finally, the Middle Ages is the third and most decisive nail in the coffin, and that he also pins the blame for that largely on the Catholic Church. So I think Christians who are looking to Evola to validate their beliefs are going to be disappointed, although I still think that Christianity does have traditional elements to it. And Evola is very fair about that. He always gives credit where it's due. And he will point out where Christianity has been kind of a bastion of tradition or helped carry that torch forward in some ways. And then he'll point out where it has been subversive. And part of his thing with Christianity is that it's kind of a mixture of two spiritual traditions that are fundamentally at odds with each other, because it has, what happened in the Middle Ages and even before then is you have the pagan elements of Europe competing with the Semitic Christianity, which is more of a southern strain of spirituality, and they're reacting against each other. They're shaping and reshaping each other as they sort of battle it out. And as a result of Christianity's contact with pagan Europe, it changed Christianity. The Christianity of today would be unrecognizable to the primitive Christians. So you have this European Christianity took on a lot of traditional elements that just due to the inevitable mixture and with the contact with paganism. And so in some ways, Evola would say that Christianity is beneficial in the sense that it guards against the lower. But the problem with it is that it has also closed the doors to the higher. And that's really his fundamental critique of it, is that it doesn't allow you to go higher. It shuts you off from the liberation that he's looking for. And what does it leave you with? It leaves you with only salvation and a devotional worship.
Yeah, so it's of a lower order ontologically, satisfactory to the masses perhaps, but not to the higher man. Yeah, I think Blake would have agreed with that. What was the other point? Yeah, because we've been doing a series called Christianism, so that's why I asked you about that. And again, there's a collectivized aspect to all these religions. You know, they're not going to really celebrate individualism and the Siddhartha road in that overt way. They may pretend that they do, but ultimately, no, it's not particularly in favor of the individual own vision or journey, I think.
Yes. And I think, not everybody's at the same point in their spiritual journeys. And so for some people, converting to Christianity would be a step up for them. For other people like Evola, it would have been a step down. And so it really just depends where somebody's at, because, as I said before, we're not all spiritually equivalent. And some people need different things. And one of the things that kind of bothers me about Christians sometimes is this proselytizing nature that they have, this idea that their religion is just this one size fits all blanket solution for everyone's spiritual needs. And that's just simply not true, because there's plenty of people who didn't find what they were looking for in Christianity, but managed to find it elsewhere. And I think, if you believe in God, you believe in intelligent design, you believe that God has a plan for all of us, then God's plan for some of us is that we're not Christian. We're not going on that path. We deviate from that path. And I think that's okay, because there are many paths to truth. And I don't think there's any one religion that has a monopoly on it. I mean, I could find useful things to say about pretty much every religion I've studied, from, like Australian Aboriginals to Christians to Islam to Buddhism to whatever. There's always something of value there. And it's really just a question of like what resonates with an individual person and where they're at in their journey.
That's right. That's right. Two other authors that jumped to mind when you're speaking there about this uneasy meeting of Eastern Christianity as it moved to the West was J.J. Bakofen. Are you familiar with him, the anthropologist?
Yes, I'm so sad that more of his work is not translated into English, because my German is nowhere near good enough to read an entire book of his. But I have read what is translated, and I love it.
Yeah, he was essential. I like his work a lot. And Alfred Rosenberg also spoke of it, I think because he was influenced by Bakofen and Evola. But he also mentions it in his work that the original Christianity, which you're speaking, that might have come out of the Middle East, would have been unrecognizable as it was doctored to move to a Gentile Western audience. It also then has all of these other elements added to it that, Jews to this day don't even recognize what the hell it's going on. It's so hybridized. And others have,
yes,
shown that the culprit there was St. Paul. And I totally agree with that. Working for the Caesars, he utterly hybridized many traditions: Zoroastrianism, Gnosticism, Judaism, and even pagan elements with the sun king, sun god idea. And Evola, of course, took a given.
Well, and you can see why Evola would say that there is no spiritual path available in the modern age that provides a pathway to what he's looking for, which is, maybe why he was so big on the idea of self-initiation.
Right.
Not that he would recommend that for anybody else necessarily, but.
Well, that's right. And nobody should. I'm very attracted to that elitist part of his work.